is super special. She is doing all sorts of cool, interesting things that she's going to tell you about. It's like over my head how many amazing things Martine has done. But she's a designer, she's a crafter, she's a podcaster, she's like done all the things. And what's particularly special about Martine is that you are from the same fictional island that I'm from.
Oh yes, it does exist. It really does exist. I'm here in Guernsey, and there's 60,000 people here with me, and that's it.
Martine, tell us about Guernsey, because no one believes it exists.
Oh, it definitely does. Guernsey's part of the Channel Islands, and it's very teeny tiny. I should know the measurements off by heart. I would guess it's something like, I don't know, 10 miles by 5. Does that sound about right? Or 12 miles by 6? Or it's kind of triangular-ish, I guess. Part of the Channel Islands, just kind of in between France and the UK. And so as a result, it tends to be a tiny bit warmer than the UK, but not really that warm, and it's a lovely place to live, isn't it?
Do you know what I always get, oh, have you read that like potato peel book? And
yes.
Have you read the potato peel book?
The potato peel book definitely put Guernsey on the map. I've read it a couple of times and I really love it.
Well, okay, so you've read it for me as well then. If you read it twice, you read it for me as well.
It was my pleasure to do that for you, yes.
Well, I can now officially say I've read the potato peel book. Thank you, Martine.
I listen to the audiobook actually, because I'm the sort of girl who likes to do 2 or 3 things at once. So sitting and reading and doing nothing else doesn't really work for me.
Asking. So, Martine, what? Okay, where do we start? Shall we start with what you're doing now?
We can do that, yeah, and then we can work backwards, I guess.
Let's do that.
Okay, well, I guess I'm kind of starting a new venture. I'd like to call it a 2-year plan, but that suggests that some planning has happened. I'm sort of at the stage where I'm planning my 2-year plan. I currently work in an education establishment on Ireland, and I love that, but I have got to the stage in my career where I want to pursue more creative stuff. For a larger part of my week, shall we say. So I've taken, I guess it's a bit of a risk. I've dropped my day job hours, and that's given me a couple of days a week to focus on my creative business. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to be launching a career in surface pattern design.
What surface pattern design?
I set that one up for you. Did you notice? Well, do you know, I was going to say look at your top, but actually I don't think it has got a pattern as such on it, has it? It's more kind of holes.
Fish.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, your top's got a pattern on it.
Okay? I'm not trying to show my boobs to the camera. I'm just like, this is a
feel
fish.
free. I've got some coasters here. These are homemade coasters. It's just a little ceramic tile with some scrapbook paper on the top. That's a pattern. I've got a notebook, which I can't quite reach. That's got a pattern on it. I've got wallpaper in here. It's got a pattern on it. So all of those patterns were designed by somebody. Sometimes it would be
the
like
same person?
well, that would be amazing, and that will be me one day. But sometimes it will be like the company who produces the wallpaper, for example. Sometimes it'll be a freelancer. So I'm working on lots of pattern designs at the moment, building my portfolio. I've just pitched a pattern to a fabric company, and I'm kind of waiting to hear back from them. So that's kind of exciting. I can see my patterns on fabric, and I like the idea of bedding and stuff.
This is really interesting. Okay, I have so many questions, but you're pitching your fabric design. How does that work? Like, how do you find someone to pitch it to? What do you say? And is this a big market? Is this a thing?
I didn't even realize it was a thing until I started sort of exploring courses and things on it. But yes, very much a thing. Lots of companies rely on freelancers rather than having the in-house expertise, particularly like greeting cards companies and things. So in terms of pitching, I've only done my first one, and it's been by email, so a lot less scary than a kind of Dragon's Den setup where you have to stand in front of them and tell them why you're brilliant and stuff. But what I pitched was, that would be fun. Hello, I'm brilliant. Have my designs. But I created a collection, which is kind of one lead pattern and a couple of supporting patterns all in the same colour scheme. And I put them on the back end of my website. I sent a link to the company, explained that I'd really like to work with them. I did some mock-ups of my patterns as well. So for example, in Illustrator, I had some very basic images of like a bed, a notebook. a towel, you know, a tea set, and I just put my patterns on top of those just to show how I think they could be used. It was a very friendly email, sent it across to them, and I'm keeping everything crossed. So yeah.
So how did you find, like, did someone talk to you about it or explain it to you, or did you just do research and figure it out?
Good question. I have been looking for a creative niche for ages. I'm a real classic jack of all trades, master of none, because I can do loads of things and I can do them reasonably well. But I know I need to niche down into something, because throughout my kind of creative business career, if you will, I've just been doing a bit of everything. So I know I need to find one thing. So I thought it was going to be hand lettering, because I love doing that. So I started doing some courses, and a couple of platforms that I really like. I know you offer some courses as well, so clearly any courses you offer are going to be considerably better. But Creative Bug, Skillshare, both of those, and Creative Live and Craftsy, all very good platforms for learning skills.
Tips, actually. So those are all platforms for courses to learn creative skills.
Yeah, and it's some business stuff, it's all creative, but different angles and different types of things. And I came across some pattern design courses. So I started doing them, and I was like, oh my goodness, this ticks every single box that I've ever had, because it's drawing, but fairly simple drawing, quite stylized works, which is what I do. And it's technology, and it's fabric and stationery and gift wrap and all of the things that I love. So it feels right.
It ticks all the boxes.
So many boxes and so many ticks.
Can you kind of talk about how you do your designs? Do you freehand draw them, or do you do them using digital methods? Or is this like a trade secret? Have you got like a secret method for doing it?
That's a really good question, actually, and I get asked that a lot, because obviously when you see the finished patterns, they're clearly digital. But everything I do starts life as a hand-drawn element. So have I got a sketchbook here? There you go, random sketchbook, just some, you know, little cute sort of floral there. Just they're doodles. They're literally just doodles. So everything starts life as a doodle of some description, because I want to retain that hand-drawn look. So I want slightly wobbly lines. I don't want things that look like, you know, they've been just created in Illustrator. That being said, I am going to treat myself to a tablet soon, you know, like a Wacom tablet. I hope I don't lose that hand-drawn look, but that's how they start life. They start life in my sketchbook, and then I take a photograph of them on my iPhone. Then I send the image into Photoshop, and then I just tidy it up. I don't like correct it. What I do is I brighten it, get rid of the background, and just kind of pick the images I want to work with, and then send them into Illustrator to make them into vectors, because vectors are infinitely scalable as compared to like JPEGs and, you know, things which are pixels, so you can't scale those. Make them into vectors. Then the next stage in the process is creating the pattern. So what I tend to do is work in a square format, and if you just think of like a blank square with a pattern, a repeatable pattern, anything that's on the left-hand side needs to be on the right, and anything that's on the top needs to be on the bottom. And that's how you create a repeatable pattern.
Oh, cool.
So then chuck all your elements in, move them around, flip them, resize them. Then you look at color palettes. Color has been a bit of a revelation to me, because I'm a bit scared of putting colors together. I tend to like wear white or black. Pattern I love, but someone else has chosen the colors when I wear pattern. So you go onto Pinterest, you look at some of the beautiful color schemes that people have picked out from photographs and things, and they've identified the colors, and you find ones that you like, and you use the I think it's called the eyedropper tool in Illustrator, just to pick the colors. So you can look for a color scheme you like, and you can use that.
Oh, what a good idea. That's cool tip.
It's just a nice tip, yeah. And then once you've done that, what you do is there's a few technical bits that are a bit hard to explain without showing, but you make the repeatable tile into a swatch, and then you can select the swatch, make a big rectangle, and fill it with your pattern to test it. And that's kind of in a nutshell, how the patterns are created. There are more complex ways, because that's just a repeated tile. Imagine you were doing like a lino print, just, one after the other. You do something called a half drop, which is pattern there and then pattern down there, pattern there, pattern down there. There's all sorts of things, but yeah, that's the kind of
tutorial. I have people that would love to see what you're doing. That's so cool.
I'm sure that'll be in the 2-year plan.
Well, I have a question for you, because we go way back. We go way back in the day. And I mean, when we were friends way back in the day, I remember.
We're still friends. I just need to point that out.
We're still friends. There's a few. No, we're still friends. It's all good. I remember who you are. We're good. So when we go way back, I remember you were very corporate at one point. You were like very high flying in Guernsey. You were like a big corporate business lady, working in finance, doing a lot of things like that. And you've done so many things. You've done education. You've done all these things. A lot of people don't take art seriously, and they say like art and business don't mix, and artists are starving artists. What's your take on this? Is there scope for art and business to intersect?
Yeah, definitely. The starving artist thing is an absolute myth. I am quite confident about that. And I have to say, my business background is helping me enormously in planning this 2-year plan. The 2-year plan that hasn't been planned yet, but you know what I'm saying. Because if you want to make money, for example, selling your art, you have to know how to market yourself, how to brand yourself, how to do the very boring bookkeeping stuff behind it to keep the tax man happy. I think of all of those things, the marketing thing is the biggest one, definitely. So I think coming from a business background, it's given me the confidence to go into people and just say, look, this is what I do. I think it could really work for your company. These are the reasons why. This is what I cost. Just that kind of negotiation type skill. So yeah, I think the two actually play very nicely together.
I totally agree with you. I think it's like two sides of the coin. If you've got both skills, if you've got art and you can market it, you're winning.
Definitely. But I think it is also indicative of my classic jack of all trades, master of none. So I guess there's a balance to be had. But so far, it's really helped me.
Absolutely. So how did you talked about, I know you did a podcast, and you were involved in the craft community, and that was a big thing for you. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and how you got into that, and your journey doing that?
Definitely. Well, prior to what I'm about to embark on, my creative business was called iMake. And I think really, you said about my kind of corporate background and things like that. I've always had this kind of creative bent, if you will. And I think that's because I'm kind of not naturally corporate, really. So I've always had this yearning to do more creative stuff. So iMake was a creative business for me, because I don't think I ever particularly sat well with corporate life, if I'm being honest. It was a nice way to make some money. It was all right. But deep down, I wanted to do something creative, and that's how I fell into teaching. But of course, I ended up teaching administration, which is not the most it's not the most creative thing in the world.
You're a people person. You're like you're so good with people, and you can talk to anyone. And I think that really stands you in good stead especially with educate. In fact, with everything. I mean, it's all relationships. If you can talk to people.
Business is relationships ultimately, and I love the teaching side of things, and I'm going to be using that throughout my career, whatever I do. But about, it must be 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted to start a small creative hobby business more than anything. So I started running some creative workshops in Guernsey under the banner of iMake. So things like scrapbooking, card making, learning to knit, crochet, sew, that sort of thing.
How did you get that started? Was it scary, kind of organising a meetup and getting together with people and saying, I'm going to teach this? Or was it something that you felt super confident about?
I felt confident in my teaching skills. What I wasn't confident about was the market. I didn't do a great deal of research. I just kind of thought, I really want to do this. I think I'll just have a go. And the overheads weren't massive. It wasn't a massive investment. I had to buy a bit of kit, you know, so 12 pairs of scissors, 12 glue sticks, that sort of thing. And there was quite a lot of research in terms of putting together resources. But I think my nerves related to whether people would come. And they did, and I did really well. But ultimately, the market wasn't big enough for me to do that as more than a very tiny hobby business. So I started sort of changing. I loved the iMake brand that I'd created, so I ended up changing it into a blog and a podcast. Still, creative lifestyle stuff was the focus, you know, anything from knitting to drawing to sewing to crochet, whatever. So I started podcasting and blogging, and I did that for 5 years. So I made a small income out of that through sponsorship and affiliate marketing as well, and that sort of thing. So that was great. But I very recently just decided to wind up iMake completely to focus on my new venture.
Well, that's exciting.
It's been scary, and I've had loads of really nice emails and messages from people saying that, you know, they think what I'm going to do is really exciting, but they're really going to miss the podcast, and I'm a bit sort of like, oh my God, is it the right thing to do? And it was a really hard decision. But
your audience will go with you. Like, if you've already built up your fan club, your audience, they're going to go with you, whatever you do.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point, that once you've established your community, if you're honest and open with them and you tell them the truth about what your plans are, they do follow you because they're interested in you as a person. You know, and even if, you know, 99% of the people who are my community aren't prospective customers, they might know someone who is. You know, so, I think it's really valuable and really important to talk to your community in that way. Once you've established it, I mean, I've had 5 years to establish my community, so it's a good one.
So you said you're on a 2-year plan now. Can you sort of, so let's go back. You started off, you were working in businesses, finance, you moved into education, and you've been teaching further education. From there, and you've carried on doing that as a full-time day job.
Yes.
And from there, you started working on iMake, which was classes and podcasts and everything about a creative lifestyle. And now you're at this transition period where you're moving into doing the pattern design, and kind of winding down iMake and focusing on the patterns. So you say you have, but you're still working your day job part-time.
Yes, I'm planning to overlap, really. I'm really hoping my employer's not going to watch this.
Okay, I can't see it in Guernsey.
I'm hoping to overlap. So I've got 2 years in a part-time role. So that's given me, I've got my part-time job paying the bills, which I'm afraid is really, really important that those bills and that mortgage gets paid. But I've got a couple of days in the week where I'm focusing on my creative exploits. And I've strategically decided to go for one thing, pattern design, rather than go for a whole host of things. Because under the iMake banner, I was designing knitwear patterns, I was doing freelance writing, I was blogging, I was podcasting, I was sometimes doing courses. What else was I doing? I had an indie e-magazine. And so I was self-publishing. I was doing all the things, and I've only got a set number of hours in a day, so I've deliberately chosen to niche down into one area, which I think might be the area. And if you know what, if it's not, that's okay. I'll go into something else. But I just want to do one thing.
That's really interesting. I like the phrase niche down. And really focus. I think that's really exciting. And I think, I don't know, when I saw the patterns that you've done, I was like, wow, these look so professional. Like this could really be it. This is such an amazing thing that you're doing. And I was like, yeah, I've got to talk to you about this. This is cool. People need to see what you're doing. But you say you're giving yourself 2 years. How do you hope to see the next 2 years panning out?
I would like to be self-employed in 2 years' time. That's the ultimate aim. I would like to be making my income through my pattern design business. So that'll be some licensing of patterns. I would like to have some sort of retail operation, probably through Etsy, I would think. Not 100% sure. So some sort of retail operation. Not like a shop, wow, that would be cool. But something through Etsy, I would imagine, because I've had a bit of experience with Etsy. And I'd like to be able to walk down the high street and nip into a shop and see my products or products with my designs on sale in Guernsey. You know, I'd also like to do a colouring book. That's definitely on my list.
Do they have shops in Guernsey?
Do they have shops? Yes. Well, they've got a little market. We have like actual shops, you know.
Real shops. Wow.
You
don't have a McDonald's though, or Starbucks.
We've got one on the way, I think, a Starbucks.
No way. Oh, I can move back. I'm coming back, Martine.
It's a done deal. So yeah, that's kind of my first thing to achieve is to get one of my patterns or my pattern collections taken on by a fabric, supplier, manufacturer, or something else, a stationery manufacturer. So that's the first step, hopefully.
That's so exciting.
It's a bit scary, but really positive. Definitely positive.
You've sold online before. You've done Etsy before.
Say that again, sorry?
Oh, you've sold. Hi, Penny.
Oh, she's so noisy.
Can we talk about Penny?
I'll go and get her.
Yeah, she's a social media star.
Penny's on Instagram as Penny Cavershon.
What is Penny? Tell us about Penny.
She's a capuchon, so a cavalier in Bichon Frise Cross.
Oh,
she's gorgeous, and I love her.
And she's an Instagram celebrity, isn't she?
Yes, Penny Cavershon on Instagram. Bless her. She's got quite a following.
Yes. Do you use Instagram or any of the other social media sites? Which ones have you used? Have you got any kind of tips on what's worked for you?
Yeah, I think my biggest tip, and I'm probably preaching to the converted here, is to use social media for engagement, not broadcasting. One of the biggest mistakes I see people with both small and massive businesses using social media for is just saying, we have these things for sale. Come and see our products. We're amazing. We had a really good customer review today, yada, yada. You've got to do a bit of that, but social media does what it says on the tin. It's social. As a business, it's a privilege for you to be in someone's social space, so you treat it that way. So engage with your customers or prospective customers. You've got to do a bit of broadcasting, don't get me wrong, I get that. But tell them your story, and people are always more likely to buy from someone that they know the story of and they feel like they know personally.
I like that. That's so you say engagement, not broadcasting. I like that.
Absolutely. I would say 70% engagement, the rest 30% broadcast. Do you know what I mean? That would be my sort of top tip from both as someone who uses it to market and someone who consumes via social media as well. I use Twitter, Facebook reluctantly. Not a massive fan, but I'd have to use it because that's where my people are. I love Instagram because it's largely visual. I like Pinterest. I'm a bit of a Pinterest obsessive. I fell out with Pinterest in the early days, but I've kind of come back to them now because I just can't not.
And Pinterest are doing some interesting things as well. They've got promotable pins and buyable pins now, which are really, really exciting. So
really
interesting. On Pinterest.
Definitely. I think as long as I get the balance right, I don't, as a consumer, I don't want to go into Pinterest and be bombarded with stuff that really doesn't tick my boxes.
Yeah, the strategy I see a lot for Pinterest is you post a pin to an article, and then the article has links to whatever it is you're selling. So you kind of guide them down the funnel and lure them in that way.
It's more of a signposting kind of mechanism. Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of cool. I do like what Pinterest are doing. The reason I fell out with Pinterest in the early days is just sometimes the original source of the pin gets lost. And I do, I've got opinions on sort of people nicking other people's stuff and passing it off as their own. You know, I license a lot of my content from iMake under a Creative Commons license. So I'm all up for people sharing my content, as long as they attribute it to me. You know, I created that content, so they should say, you know, read this great article by me, you know? So that's the reason I fell out with them in the first place.
That's really interesting, and that's something that I know when I was doing the colouring book course, we were very, very careful to say only use images that you have the full rights to edit, and where you can, just use your own images, take your own images and convert them to colouring book pages. And I know I got a lot of flack in the beginning because people were going, oh, you're just going to steal other people's pictures, and I was like, no, that is not what we're planning on doing at all. But
Definitely.
unfortunately, it's kind of become the way of things that people are doing that a lot, whether it's to put them on shirts or put them on colouring books or whatever it is. People tend to see things on the internet as fair game. And I think Facebook's kind of encouraged that with all the, like, I know people take videos and they're just sharing them to bring people to their own websites. And it's such a grey, shady area at the moment.
I think it's really important as a creative business person to be really clear on all of that stuff, and just because other people are doing it, it doesn't mean that you can hop on the bandwagon as well. You know, you need to have your integrity from a creative point of view and from a business person point of view. And I don't know, I don't believe in karma as such, but I do like to treat other people's stuff how I want them to treat my stuff, kind of thing. So I think it's a really important thing to understand. And like the colouring books, that's a really good example. As a massive consumer of colouring books, me, I only want to see original stuff in that colouring book. I don't want to see something that perhaps, you know, someone else has done. My dog has just stolen my shoe. She's such a stereotype. I love it. I'm going to let her chew that because it keeps her quiet.
You're sacrificing your shoe.
I am sacrificing my shoe. But yeah, you want original content. It's really, really important. So it's quite
more brand as well. I think if your content's original and it has like a theme going on with it, it builds your brand. And I think this is something that's really important to what you're doing. I look at your patterns, and it was funny. I saw them and I was like, oh, that's so you. Like this came from your talent, your soul, whatever it is. I saw them and it kind of made me think of you. And I think that's such a great I don't know, that's such an amazing thing to have that unique point of view and that unique perspective when
That's really encouraging to hear, because as an aspiring pattern designer, I kind of feel that I haven't found my style yet. So at the moment, I'm only designing things that I would like to wear or have a handbag made out of, or, you know, have a notepad with a pattern on. I'm designing for myself. My customer is me. So if there is some sort of semblance of style and personality coming out there, then that's brilliant. I'm really chuffed. Thank you.
And I think it makes it easier to market. I mean, I look at, I don't know if Lisa Frank's popular over there, but over here there's Lisa Frank stuff, and she does these neon, they look like a unicorn vomited. Like they are like neon rainbow 80s colours.
Oh, I love unicorn vomit. That's fantastic.
But it's so, like, you look at it and you go, oh, that's a Lisa Frank design. Great, okay. And or like Kath Kidston, it's all the roses and the pink. And
I'm a big Kath fan, definitely. She's one of my pattern design icons, definitely.
I think
although her style's very different to mine.
I'm more on the Lisa than the Kath side, but
is she the one with the monkeys?
Yeah, she does have monkeys. Ugly unicorn vomit monkeys.
I was going to say dinosaur vomit then. I don't know where that came from. I meant unicorn vomit, but dinosaur vomit would be quite disgusting. Now I think of it.
One of the things that I know a lot of people, especially with eBay, is that they say, like, if you have a very unique thing, even if, like, some people will say, oh, it's ugly, it's awful, and some people, like Kath Kidston, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, too much floral, but you're like, oh, beautiful Kath Kidston. And I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your reaction is to something, but I think if you have a reaction to something, it's likely to be easy to market, or easier to market. Do you think that's true? Do you think, like, what do you think makes something marketable? That's like a big question.
That's a massive question, but I actually really like your point that if you have a reaction to it, then it's marketable. If there's absolutely no reaction, then it's got to be really bland.
Mhm.
And one could argue there is a market for bland stuff. People do like beige and things, but crikey, as a designer, I don't want to be producing beige. I think when you're designing, you need to have your customer in mind, and you can't. I go back to my idea of niching down. You can't design for absolutely everybody because you only have a set number of hours in the day. You have a specific style. So I design for myself as a customer. My designs are feminine, but with a bit of quirk. You know, not overly kind of.
The front bit, you had like, I think it was like a sort of Hessian or canvas on the front of your portfolio, and I thought that was such a lovely touch. I was like, wow, that looks so cool.
A little handmade kind of thing. So there's like handmade elements, bit of quirk, bit of floral, but not kind of necessarily Kath Kidston-y style floral.
I like yours. I like yours better than Kath Kidston. There you go.
Done. Sold. But you know, to answer your question, I think there is a market for most things, but I guess it's about you finding your style, your values, your customer, and then kind of channeling all of that down into your creative process. Gosh, that's a really woolly answer, but there's something in that, I think.
I think what's really strong in that is well, it's all strong, but I think what's really stood out to me is like knowing your customer, having a target person in mind, even if that's yourself. I think that's great because you know your customer and you know what about your design would appeal to that person. And I think one of the things I just did an article about white label products and how to sell white label products and brand. So you take maybe a regular bottle of shampoo, you buy a blank bottle of shampoo, but then you brand it. So you make it fairy shampoo, or you make it, I don't know, vampire shampoo or gothic shampoo.
I would totally buy that, vampire shampoo.
I would totally buy vampire shampoo, but many people wouldn't. But it's making something that people go, this is for me, this was made for me. Because then they obsess on it, they buy it, and they're willing to spend the money. Because if it's unique enough, they're going to pay the price, whatever price it is.
Yes, definitely.
Actually, that's a good question. Like designer things, do you see? I'm trying to think how to say this. I'm kind of going somewhere with this and trying to figure it out. Designer products tend to sell at much higher prices. Do you think that it is better to aim for a boutique market or to aim for sort of selling in like BHS and in mass? I'm trying to think of an American, like in Target. Yeah. So we have Target. Would it be better to aim for like the Target audience? Or would it be better to aim for a boutique audience? Where do you feel more comfortable, both as an artist and as a business person?
I think that's a really good question. And at the moment, my gut feeling is to head towards the higher end, only because I would like to have some say in the quality of what the products are. Mm-hmm. And so if I was designing for the lower end, you can't always guarantee the quality. So part of my sort of value set as a creative business person relates to quality. All of that said, I don't want what my patterns go on to be totally inaccessible to the lower end. So I'd like to have some elements that are affordable. So aiming higher end, but if my patterns go on things like cards and notelets,
it kind of filters down.
Yeah. You know, you might not be able to afford an Orla Keeley handbag, but you might be able to get a set of notelets designed by Orla Keeley. So you know, did you see what I mean? So pushing the higher end for quality reasons, but with an element of affordability built in there. I think Kath Kidston is quite a good kind of price range for stuff.
It's like market segmentation. Like you can't afford a Chanel dress, but you can go buy a bottle of number 5. It kind of
yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I've kind of got in my head, and that's what will go into the 2-year plan that hasn't quite been written yet.
I think the 2-year plan is very exciting. In 2 years' time, I think you will be walking into the high street in Guernsey and finding your amazing designs on all kinds of things. And I hope I see them over here as well. I want to see them in California.
Oh yes, that would be a very exciting thing indeed. And I would want to come over to California to, I don't know, launch some stuff.
Absolutely. Come on over. You have a standing invitation.
Yay! And they can all enjoy my quirky British accent.
It's an awesome British accent. Do I still sound British, or is it kind of like fading?
You've got some little kind of American twangs in there, but you're still the same Katharyne.
Yay! Oh, well, it's so good to talk to you, Martine. Do you have any final words of wisdom or parting thoughts or inspirations for people who are creating their own products, or who kind of want to follow in your footsteps and come up with awesome designs for something?
I don't know about words of wisdom. I'm not sure I have any of those. But one thing that I'm really kind of championing at the moment is the idea of focusing on one thing at a time. And it's something that I've not really done in the past. I've done a million things all at the same time. So focus on one thing at a time. And if you get good at it, carry on doing it. I've got a really bad habit of finding a thing, getting good at it, and going, right, I'll move on to something else now.
I'm good at napping.
I'm really good at that. That's the only thing that I keep doing continuously. But if you do find your niche, you can diversify within that niche. So if pattern design is my thing, once I've really nailed the technicals, then I can kind of perhaps branch out into teaching pattern design, selling products, that sort of thing. So find one thing, grow, and then diversify later on down the line. The other thing that I was going to mention was, if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm Martine Ellis, so 3 E's in the middle. I've got quite a small following at the moment because my community from my previous life are kind of just hopping over. So I'm developing my following at the moment. I've also got a Facebook fan page. And I'm pretty sure that's Martine Ellis or Martine E. Ellis. You'll find me.
I will post all the links. We will put all the links up, and we will send lots of people your way, Martine.
And my website's martineellis.com. There we go. I got them all.
There we go, martineellis.com. So thank you so much, Martine. I will put up links to all your website, your Facebook. What else did I miss? Pinterest? No,
I'm on all the things. We'll put up links, definitely, and anyone is welcome to stalk me. I like to be stalked on the internet. Should I say that? No, don't say that.
There you go. You've just put it out there to 7,000 people. Come and stalk me.
In the social media sense of the word, stalking.
Within acceptable boundaries.
Yes.
I've been stalking you for years, Martine.
You're my favourite stalker.
I will have a lovely, is it evening over there? Are you going to have dinner?
It is. It's 5:30, so I need to walk the dog because she has already eaten one of my trainers.
It's all in the name of art. It's a sacrifice in the name of art.
It is. I'm going to walk the dog and then probably have some dinner. That's very much the plan, and maybe a glass of wine.
Oh, that sounds good. All right,
Yeah.
have a lovely evening, Martine, and thank you so much for talking to us.
A pleasure, anytime.
That's Martine Ellis, designer extraordinaire.